Hey there, guys. For an organization that's been spiraling down for a very long time, years in fact, the NRA has been starving for any kind of positive reinforcement and positive news of any kind, really. They might have finally got some. In a rare show of unity, the Supreme Court has made it clear that the government cannot punish organizations for their political views, even when those views are as controversial, so they say, as the National Rifle Association. This is on a Wire story that I'm reading this from, so it's very, very biased. The case was brought by the NRA against Maria Vullo, I guess that's how you pronounce her name, a former New York State official who allegedly tried to pressure banks and insurers to cut ties with the group. It wasn't alleged. She actually did try to do this. This came out in the case. Now, I'm going to read you some of the stuff from some of the justices, and this may surprise you who some of this is coming from. Very, very far left people wrote stuff that will surprise you. Now, this is in defense, again, of the First Amendment, but these political appointees, especially the ones that can't define a woman or not, usually tote the water for the people that put them in place. So I was a little bit surprised, again, even though it's not a Second Amendment issue, it is a Second Amendment related organization like the NRA, but this is actually a First Amendment argument, and they sided, and I think they sided on the right side of this. A quick little bit of information about Miss Vullo, the villain in this. She's actually over the DFS in New York City. This is the New York Department of Financial Services. The DFS regulates insurance companies and financial services institutions doing business in New York and has the power to initiate investigations and civil enforcement actions, as well as to refer matters for criminal prosecution. So that's what they do, and that's where this lady, Miss Vullo or Vullo, was abusing her power in the position of that DFS to try to intimidate other companies from doing business not only with the NRA, but with any other types of gun organizations in the state of New York. Some of the things that came to light were that she told the Lloyd's executive, this is the Lloyd's of London people, told the Lloyd's executives that, quote, the DFS was less interested in pursuing infractions unrelated to any NRA business so long as Lloyd's ceased providing insurance to gun groups, especially the NRA. Vullo and Lloyd struck a deal. Lloyd's would instruct its syndicates to cease underwriting firearm-related policies and would scale back its NRA-related business, and in exchange, DFS would focus its forthcoming affinity insurance enforcement action solely on those syndicates which serve the NRA. So you stop dealing with the NRA, and we're only going to focus on any of those companies that do deal with the NRA, and we're going to leave you alone. That was the deal that was struck. Continuing on, it goes to say that April 19, 2018, Vullo issued letters entitled Guidance on Risk Management Relating to the NRA and Similar Gun Promotion Organizations. This blew my mind here because this is something going on the record in print and basically creating policy stating what her goals were. In the guidance letters, Vullo encouraged DFS regulated entities to 1. Continue evaluating and managing their risks, including reputational risks that may arise from the dealings with the NRA or similar gun promotion organizations. Read that again. I want you to understand the Nazi-esque type of wording that we are using right here. This chick encouraged DFS-regulated entities to continue evaluating and managing their risks, including reputational risks that may arise from their dealings with the NRA or similar gun promotion organizations. So we're going to hurt your reputation. You are risking your reputation in the state of New York simply by doing business with a legal entity like the NRA. This is not some drug cartel. This is a legal company. No matter how you agree or disagree with what the NRA's condition and their stance is and how they conduct themselves, it does not change the fact that they have the legal right to be in business, or else they would not be recognized by the federal government as being in business in the United States. She goes on to say that review any relationships they have with the NRA or similar gun promotion organizations, and 3, take prompt actions to manage these risks and promote public health and safety. She even partnered up with Governor Cuomo to have a joint press release bragging about this. Think about that, guys. That's the boldness of these people. These people are infringing upon First Amendment rights of a whole company, an entire organization that is in good legal standing, right? These people, they're not at risk of losing their occupational license. They're not at risk of being run out of the state, not for legitimate reasons, for political reasons, yes. But they are going on the record, having press conferences saying that we are encouraging businesses not to do business with the NRA, and if they do, we will look if they don't do business with the NRA, stop doing business with the NRA, we're willing to look the other way and focus our efforts just on those businesses doing business with the NRA or other gun organizations. That's how bold these people are. Goes on to state that Vullo made clear she wanted Lloyd's to disassociate from all gun groups, although there was no indication that such groups had unlawful insurance policies similar to the NRA's. The NRA's actually were doing some things incorrectly with their little insurance thing that they had a couple years ago, but that wasn't why all this happened. This was all for political purposes. Vullo also told the Lloyd's executive she would, quote, focus her enforcement actions solely on the syndicates with ties to the NRA and ignore other syndicates writing similar policies. The message was loud and clear. Lloyd's could avoid liability for unrelated infractions if it aided DFS's campaign against gun groups by terminating its business relationships with them. Amazing. That is flat out amazing to me, and I'm so glad it came out in this court hearing. Now, surprisingly, again, since this is associated with a Second Amendment company, Justice Sotomayor was the one who actually delivered the opinion of the court, which was, again, overwhelming. So to have Sotomayor, which is a far left-leaning, probably one of the farthest left-leaning justices that we have on the Supreme Court, to deliver something in favor of the NRA, even though it's a First Amendment opinion, was very shocking to me that she took the lead on this. She stated that 6 decades ago, this court held that a government entity's threat of invoking legal sanctions and other means of coercion against a third party to achieve the suppression of disfavored speech violates the First Amendment. She's referring to Bantam Books Incorporated versus Sullivan. She went on to say, today the court reaffirms what it said then. Government officials cannot attempt to coerce private parties in order to punish or suppress views that the government disfavors. She's pretty much admitting that the government itself, including her, disfavors what the NRA stands for, but she cannot let it stand that they are being discriminated against from a First Amendment standpoint. Petitioner National Rifle Association plausibly alleges that respondent Maria Vullo did just that. As superintendent of the New York Department of Financial Services, Vullo allegedly pressured regulated entities to help her stifle the NRA's pro-gun advocacy by threatening enforcement actions against those entities that refuse to disassociate from the NRA and other gun promotion advocacy groups. Those allegations, if true, state a First Amendment claim. She went on to say that, as discussed below, Vullo was free to criticize the NRA and pursue the conceded violations of New York insurance law. She could not wield her power, however, to threaten enforcement actions against DFS-related entities in order to punish or suppress the NRA's gun promotion advocacy. Because the complaint plausibly alleges that Vullo did just that, the court holds that the NRA stated a First Amendment violation. I know some of this is repetitive, but it's important that you take all this in and understand who is saying this and why they're saying it. She goes on to say a government official can share her views freely and criticize particular beliefs, and she can do so forcefully in the hopes of persuading others to follow her lead. In doing so, she can rely on the merits and force of her ideas, the strength of her convictions, and her ability to inspire others. What she cannot do, however, is use the power of the state to punish or suppress disfavored expression. And that's exactly what she did. Sotomayor ends her opinion by stating, for the reasons discussed above, the court holds that the NRA plausibly alleged that Vullo violated the First Amendment by coercing DFS-regulated entities to terminate their business relationships with the NRA in order to punish or suppress the NRA's advocacy. the judgment of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit is vacated and the case remanded for further proceedings consistent with this opinion. That was a strong opinion, if you ask me. I felt like she worded it to be very plain and very clear. In fact, she probably had to, Sotomayor did, because remember, she's far left-leaning. She's doing the work of the Biden administration and Barack Obama, and of course the wackos on the far left. She's very anti-gun as well. What she has to do here to make it very clear that she will continue to get her anti-gun lobby money and different favors from that group, those types of groups and organizations, she has to put in very clear language why she can't support Vullo in the state of New York. Because remember, she has a lot of people that she has to do things for. And she expects things in return, right? They all do, not just her. So it's critical that she be so abundantly clear that she actually makes a really good case for everybody, both sides, which kind of is what a justice should do. Honestly, I'm okay with her having her own opinions, just so long as she does the right thing, and she has not always done that. In this case, she did. Now, this next opinion, I felt the need, a couple of the justices gave it, I think Gorsuch gave an opinion also, but this next one. Remember Ketanji Brown Jackson, the one who could not tell you what a woman was? Remember that? She couldn't define a woman because she wasn't a biologist. Man, woman, I'm not a biologist. I don't know. She actually, I felt, gave one of the strongest lines, one of the strongest statements in the opinions and concurring with Sotomayor. I put her name in purple since she's not sure what a man or a woman is. I wanted to create at least the view of being unbiased, so I didn't want to do like a blue or a red or anything like that. So I took purple, a combination. She stated at the end of her opinion, a plaintiff pursuing a First Amendment retaliation claim must show, among other things, that the government took an adverse action in response to his speech that would not have been taken absent the retaliation motive. And the NRA did that. The NRA was able to prove through this appeal process that the state of New York, more specifically Vullo, had violated their position and retaliated. And there was actually proof of the retaliation, because not only did this memo go out and this woman say all these crazy things against the NRA to try to coerce businesses from doing business with the NRA, but there was proof on record, of course, that some of these stopped doing business with the NRA just because of this woman. To me, this is a huge, huge victory for First Amendment. We are constantly fighting First Amendment type conflicts. There is censorship of anyone from the middle to the right, not just the right. The middle gets censored also. It's gotten to the point where if you don't agree wholeheartedly with the crazy wacko views of the extremists on the far left, that somehow or another you need to be censored. That what you have to say is not important to anybody, even though the majority of the country agrees with us. Let's be real about this. The majority of the country is on our side. Not the media side, not the far left side, on our side. We almost all agree with the same stuff. It's just that the ones in control are the ones that are in control, and they're controlling everything, which includes the conversation. I don't know where this goes from here as far as, does it have a ripple effect? You know how when Bruin took place, a lot of stuff happened, right? There was a lot of things, the wheels started falling off, a lot of these anti-gun things, these new laws that got put in place and things like that. I wonder at some point if this starts to get recognized, and I don't think it's going to do much good for people like us on YouTube, where we try to put out a message and it gets stifled. It's a private company. They can do whatever they want and ruin, our reach and try to keep us from getting heard, get the signal. But I wonder at some point if this is not something that people will at least look at and go, yeah, I do have a First Amendment right. I think a lot of people get so comfortable and so used to their rights being suppressed, and this goes for the Second Amendment community too, that we just come to expect it. You follow what I'm saying? You get to a point where, oh, here's censorship again. and just you walk away from it, like thinking it's not worth the fight. And in many cases, it seems like it's not worth the fight because we feel like we're never winning anything. I'm hopeful that with a decision like this, it gets to a point where, let's just say the average everyday American who had given up on voicing their First Amendment rights and even maybe protesting at a state house or something like that, some kind of thing that they would have never done before because they felt like they would have received too much pushback from a First Amendment standpoint. I'm hopeful that now we do see some people get emboldened by something like this and go, I have a voice, I have a First Amendment, and I'm going to let it be known now. I'm not going to let my voice be shuttered and shut up whenever these people tell me that I can't speak my piece and speak my opinion. And when I feel like I've been done wrong, like the NRA had been in the state of New York, I'm going to speak up for myself now. A lot of people are afraid to speak up for themselves. And I'm hopeful that this encourages people to now say, no, that's not right. You can't do that to me. And they start to speak out and speak up about this kind of stuff.
God save the Queen, man.
I'm sorry, I thought this was America.